Let's dig into this central idea that our sources are championing. I mean, the profound power of quietness and, the real value of a rich inner life.
Right.
For you, the listener, this is all about dispelling one of the biggest myths of modern life, this idea that you absolutely have to be loud, outgoing to succeed.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to help you understand this continuum of human temperament. One researcher called it the north and south of temperament, which I love.
That's a great phrase.
And this spectrum, from deep introversion to high extroversion, it isn't just about whether you like parties. It's a biological and cognitive blueprint.
So it influences everything.
Everything. How you choose a career, how you handle conflict, your relationship with risk, and even how your brain chemistry responds to, say, novelty and reward.
And the sources point out this huge tension, right? That our society is structurally biased. I mean, you look around open plan offices, team-based learning in schools, endless meetings, they are all designed for extroverts. They reward people who thrive on that constant interaction.
And that means quieter, more reflective personalities often get profoundly underestimated, systemically undervalued even.
Yeah, they're judged as less effective, not because of their actual work, but because they don't, perform their thinking for the group.
To understand how we got here, we really have to go back in time to this massive cultural upheaval in the U.S. around the turn of the 20th century.
Okay.
Up until then, the ideal was what's called the culture of character. Think of someone like Abraham Lincoln. The virtues people celebrated were, seriousness, discipline, honor.
Integrity.
Exactly. Success was about how you behaved privately, the depth of your moral fiber.
But then the world changed fast.
Right. Urbanization, big business, mass advertising. Suddenly, you're not just dealing with people in your village. You're negotiating with total strangers on a huge impersonal scale.
So society needed a new ideal, a new kind of man, as they called it. The salesman, the social operator, the person who could just walk in and own the room with charisma.
And the demand for guides on how to develop this new personality just exploded. This is where Dale Carnegie, who was originally Dale Carnegie, comes in. He started teaching public speaking at a YMCA night school in 1912. And it was an overnight sensation. People felt like they were falling behind. They needed this new social armor.
And he sold it as an absolute necessity, right? He taught that the ability to speak confidently was, and I think I'm quoting here, the indispensable weapon for business.
It was. But that pressure wasn't just from motivational speakers. Advertising really weaponized social anxiety.
Oh, the ads from that era are brutal.
They are. You remember those for Woodbury's facial soap? They weren't just selling you soap. They were warning you, quote, all around you, people are judging you silently.
Wow. All around you, people are judging you silently. That is just, it's brutal marketing.
It shows you how deep that anxiety went. Williams Shaving Cream had another one. Critical eyes are sizing you up right now.
So the culture of personality had taken hold.
Completely. The ideal self became a performer, all about charisma, magnetism. But here's the interesting part. The old virtues duty, integrity, those were things you could acquire through hard work.
Right.
The new qualities, being stunning or magnetic, they were trickier to acquire. It depended entirely on how other people saw you. And that created all these new insecurities.
And this ideal just got baked into everything. The sources show that by the mid-century, college deans were openly saying they preferred a pretty gregarious, active type over the brilliant but quiet student.
Even for technical jobs, companies hiring research scientists would prioritize the hardy extrovert. They say things like, we were all for brilliance, but
we need a team player.
Exactly. The social skills became the prerequisite.
Which brings us to the core psychological difference. It's not just a preference. It's about this idea of an optimal level of arousal or stimulation.
Yes. Introverts are biologically wired to feel just right with less external input. Their sweet spot is, low arousal stuff. Reading a book, a deep chat with one friend.
They get overstimulated easily.
Very easily. Whereas the extrovert is actively seeking that extra bang from high arousal activities. Loud parties, public speaking, meeting 10 new people at once.
There's a great line in the source material, something like, for introverts, other people are very arousing.
Yes. 100 people are way more stimulating and draining than 100 books.
And that difference totally dictates how they work.
It does. Extroverts tend to tackle things quickly. They make fast decisions, which can sometimes be rash. They're comfortable multitasking.
And they love the thrill of the chase, for status, for money.
That's right. While introverts work more slowly or deliberately, they thrive on focusing on one thing. They have what the sources call mighty powers of concentration.
And they're relatively immune to the lures of, like, massive wealth and fame.
Which links right back to that biological wiring. The research suggests that extroverts' dopamine pathways might be more active.
And dopamine isn't just pleasure, it's the seeking chemical.
Exactly. It gives them a stronger buzz from the pursuit and the capture of rewards. A promotion, a bonus, a new social contact, whatever it is.
So they're always compelled to chase the next big thing.
Precisely. But that buzz is a double-edged sword. It can lead to a kind of blindness to danger, to excessive risk-taking.
That makes sense. Statistically, extroverts are more likely to be in high-speed car accidents, to smoke,
or engage in risky sexual behavior. The desire for that high arousal just overrides their sense of caution.
Now, if that's true for one person, what happens when you scale it up to, say, an entire industry? The sources suggest this was a factor in the 2008 financial crisis.
A huge factor. I mean, not the only one, but a key personality component. As the financial sector got dominated by this aggressive, short-term, reward-driven thinking, power went to the aggressive risk-takers.
And the cautious types, the ones saying, wait, what if this model is wrong?
They were increasingly intimidated, passed over for promotion, and eventually just pushed aside. The system was built to reward loud, confident aggression, not quiet, careful prudence.
So that quiet competitive advantage, then, is the ability to just stop and think, to inhibit that immediate urge to leap.
Yes. The introverted mind thinks more carefully. It digests information more thoroughly. It's less likely to quit on a hard puzzle. While extroverts focus on what is, introverts are always asking, what if?
They're using the planning part of the brain to calm the emotional part that's screaming, go, go, go.
That's a great way to put it. And that persistence pays off. Look at that call center example.
Oh, that was fascinating. The extroverts were great at first.
But they got distracted so easily. A call from a friend, a shiny object, and their focus was gone.
But the quiet introverts.
They might have spoken softly, but they were determined. They just stayed on task. Boom, boom, boom. They were making those calls, and they ended up being incredibly effective.
It really feels like that ability to focus quietly is being systematically crushed, especially with this trend towards what the sources call the new groupthink.
And that critique is so necessary because the bias is architectural now. Over 70% of employees are in open plan offices. Elementary schools push cooperative learning to mimic that corporate team culture.
Wait, so you're telling me that decades of pushing teamwork and collaboration might actually be wrong?
The sources cite decades of research that proves it, at least when it's used as a default. The classic example is brainstorming.
Right. The idea was that groups build on each other's ideas.
That was the theory. But the evidence, like Marvin Dennett's huge 3M study, is unambiguous. Individuals working alone produce more ideas and better ideas than those same people in a group.
So why does it fail so badly?
A few things. First, social loafing. Some people just sit back. Second, production blocking. Only one person can talk at a time, so you forget your idea while you're waiting.
And the third one, which feels like the biggest one, is evaluation apprehension.
The fear of looking stupid.
And that's not just a social fear, it's biological. The conformity studies.
Oh, the Ash and Burn studies. They're staggering. 75% of people went along with the group's obviously wrong answer at least once.
But the brain scans showed it was deeper than that. For some, peer pressure literally changed their perception. They started to genuinely see the wrong answer as correct.
And for those who resisted, who stood alone, their amygdala lit up. It's the brain signaling the pain of independence. Standing apart from the tribe literally registers as a threat.
Which is why solitude is so vital for real creativity, for deep expertise.
Absolutely. To become a top chess master or an expert violinist, you need deliberate practice, and that is most effective when you do it alone, focusing on your own specific weaknesses.
You see that perfectly with Steve Wozniak. The Homebrew Computer Club was the spark, the community.
But when it came time to actually design the first Apple PC, he did it alone in his cubicle at HP. He called that time of intense, solitary work the biggest high ever.
And the data on computer programmers backs this up. The absolute best ones worked for companies that gave them the most privacy and freedom from interruption.
It proves that innovation doesn't happen when you force people into groups. It happens when you give smart people uninterrupted time to think.
So if the charismatic performer is a flawed ideal, how should we be thinking about leadership?
We have to reframe it. Peter Drucker, the management guru, had a brilliant observation. He said effective leaders shared only one non-trait. They had little or no charisma.
Like Darwin Smith, the CEO of Kimberly-Clark.
Exactly. He was shy, unassuming, wore simple suits, the total opposite of a showman. But he had what's described as extreme humility coupled with intense professional will.
He ignored the crowd, made these huge strategic decisions, and the company's stock outperformed the market 4-1.
The quiet man was the risk manager who got it right.
So let's make this practical for the listener. Given this world that demands an extroverted performance, what's the advice? It seems to come down to finding your sweet spot.
That's the idea of optimal levels of arousal. You have to become an expert on yourself. The goal is to put yourself in environments that are neither overwhelming nor, boring.
And this is where free trait theory is so useful. It basically says, okay, your temperament is real, it's fixed, but you can stretch yourself, you can act out of character when you're serving your core personal projects.
Think about Professor Brian Little. He's deeply introverted, but he gave these incredible theatrical lectures. He was acting completely out of character, burning huge amounts of energy.
But he did it because teaching was his core project. It was meaningful enough to justify the stretch.
But, and this is a huge but, you have to distinguish that meaningful stretch from what the sources call self-negation.
The difference is burnout.
Yes. Look at Jillian, the advocate. She hated chairing meetings, but she did it because that meeting was vital for her cause. That's sustainable. Then you have Allison, the introverted lawyer, who tried to be a bold, smooth litigator because she felt she should.
And that led to complete burnout.
Because she was acting out of character for something she didn't really care about.
Which is where the Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, comes in. This is a brilliant concept.
It's an explicit negotiation with your spouse, your colleagues. It says, okay, I'm going to act out of character for this thing we both value.
But in exchange, I need guaranteed time and space to retreat and be myself.
Right. For a couple, it might be the extrovert gets a big party once a month, but the introvert gets every Sunday completely alone. No exceptions. It makes the performance sustainable.
And we can also learn from looking at soft power in other cultures.
In many Asian cultures, quietness and restraint are valued. The ideal person isn't sociable. They're humble, altruistic, hardworking.
The ultimate example has to be Mahatma Gandhi. He described himself as constitutionally shy, terrified of public speaking.
And yet he wielded incredible strength. His power wasn't charisma. It came from quiet, principled persistence. Satyagraha, firmness in pursuit of truth.
It's what one professor called leadership by water rather than by fire.
It's conviction and caring. It wins people over in the long run, long after the charismatic speaker has left the stage.
And that is the key takeaway for you, the listener. If you're a quieter person, recognize the immense advantage you have. Harness your persistence, your concentration, your insight. Use it to do work you love and work that matters.
And if you need to learn public speaking for one of those core projects, get the training. Make it easier. But never, ever undervalue your own quiet talents in the process.
Personality is so complex. The research shows introversion and extroversion are about 40 to 50% heritable.
Right. Temperament is the foundation. Personality is the building on top. And what's interesting is that high reactive temperaments, the ones prone to introversion, are more vulnerable in bad environments, but they thrive the most beautifully in good ones. They often develop the deepest empathy, the strongest conscience.
So we've seen personality profoundly shapes us, but we also have free will. We can use our frontal cortex to calm the amygdala, to stretch ourselves. The lesson is balance, like those partnerships of warrior kings and priestly advisors.
Or Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He was the charismatic leader, she was the sensitive, conscientious advisor, the conscience. So the mystery isn't just nature versus nurture. It's how your inborn temperament interacts with your life, your environment, and your own free will. We can stretch, but only so far. So use your energy where it's boundless. And remember, as the sources so wisely put it, even if you can stretch yourself to succeed in a loud world, the secret to life is to put yourself in the right lighting. For some, it's a Broadway spotlight. For others, a lamplit desk.